think social users will grow fatigued over just seeing like bots after bots after bots, that the human element of creator and influencer marketing is going to become even more treasured.
Can you give us an example of where you had to do some kind of firefighting because an influencer said something crazy in the middle of a campaign?
Over the last couple of years, the firefighting has been a little bit of a side hustle for me. We have a tool, it's our AI powered Hive, which essentially allows us to identify trends before they're at their peak. So while they're up and coming, allowing us to act upon them with a brand while it's still at its peak.
How do you see AI agents or assistants changing the game for influencer marketing?
Zeno has been such a big proponent of accelerating our AI integration. So AI agents, bringing them into the identification and just having them be a partner to our team, absolutely.
This episode is brought to you by Phyllo, the universal solution for social media background checks and influencer vetting. If you work in background verification, brand reputation, image building, public relations, or influencer marketing, you know how crucial fast and reliable background screening is. With Phyllo Social Screening, you can run AI-powered social media background checks in just 15 minutes, spotting red flags, news mentions, and adverse media across platforms. Trusted by leaders like Global Background Screening, Gigan, Prembly, and Essential Screens, Phyllo Social Screening helps you save millions of dollars in crisis management. Check out the link in the description to book a demo today.
Hello everyone, this is Shubham Tiwari. I'm the Associate Director of Content Marketing and Socials at Phyllo, the universal solution for social media background checks and influencer vetting. I welcome you all to Impulse Season 3. We are still Google's #1 rated podcast on influencer marketing. And as we promised you, we are going to bring great guests in our Season 3. And in the line of great guests, today we have Colleen O'Hara, EVP, Head of Chicago Digital at Zeno Group, a global integrated communications agency that's redefining how brands show up across socials, influencer marketing, and digital performances. With years of experience driving bold, strategic, and data-driven storytelling for brands, Colleen is at the forefront of Zeno's creative and digital transformation. She's leading a powerhouse of a team that blends influencer strategy, paid media, content innovation, all under one roof. Today, we are unpacking everything from AI's rising role in digital storytelling to vetting influencers, which is a very major ask nowadays. So let's dive right into it. Colleen, welcome to Impulse.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here.
Lot to unpack from that introduction, but let's start on a fun note. Do you remember the moment you first fell in love with digital or creative storytelling, and what was that early spark that told you this is my space?
Yeah, it's funny. When I was in college, I will never forget that I had an ad professor who said, if you know how to make money off of Facebook, you're going to be a millionaire. So at the time when I was in school, no one was even making money off of Facebook. There weren't ads, there weren't brands on the channel, things like that. So it really has been a space that I've kind of grown in my career and kind of learned by doing. So I actually graduated and spent the first couple of years of my career doing earned media, so PR. I think I made it to like a mid-level position without ever getting a media placement. And really through that, I realized that, number one, PR is not for me. And number two, that I just was following the growth of, at the time, the blogger sphere and following the growth of Instagram into Snapchat, all of these social channels that were really emerging and kind of seeing how brands were integrating onto those channels. I think when I first started, I actually was the community manager for Wonder Bra. So it was funny kind of seeing the social space evolve, seeing influencer marketing evolve, and then figuring out that that's really where I wanted to spend my time. So about, I want to say 9 years ago, I was brought over to Zeno Group to really build out at the time their influencer marketing practice. At that time, they had the earned media folks, the PR folks doing all of the influencer outreach. And so that move to pull the influencer marketing team under their digital practice, I think they were really ahead of their time. And I think because of that, the programs that we put together, for almost 10 years now have been so heavily influenced by our paid media specialists, our social content specialists, our corporate reputation team. And you can see that in the programs that we put together, those influencers are really pulled through. And then about 2 years ago, I actually evolved into the role of the head of our Chicago digital team. So I get to work side by side with that powerhouse team of social strategists, creator marketers, which formerly influencer marketing at our agency, and then also our paid media folks, our corporate reputation specialists, and then very closely too with our analytics team.
Colleen, so from healthcare to tech to consumer brands, Zeno works across so many verticals. What's been the most surprising challenge or learning in tailoring influencer strategies across such diverse categories?
We do so much creator influencer marketing work across all of our consumer clients. I would say that 95% of our consumer clients are doing creator marketing in some way. But we also are definitely dabbling in the healthcare space, some of those more highly regulated industries like finance and things like that. And I think ultimately, the biggest challenge is balancing authenticity with compliance, especially in some of those more regulated industries. So really trying to strike that balance of making sure that the content is going to provide value to the consumer, be that entertainment, tips, things like that, but also balancing some of those more rigid compliance things that we have to do from an FDA perspective, an FTC perspective. So we really are looking at creators who are really professional content creators in the sense that they know how to take some of those more regulated industries and weave it into their content in a way that's really dynamic for the audience to where they aren't going to scroll through. So that's definitely the hardest part, coming up with those tight briefs to make sure that we're balancing what we have to do from a compliance perspective, hitting those key brand messagings, but also preserving our creator partners' voice.
Right. And as I told our audience that you lead digital for Zeno's Chicago hub. So what does a high performing influencer program looks like in your world, and any lessons or any standout campaign that you want to talk about?
Yeah. So, we look at our creator performance twofold. We try to bring paid media into every program that we do. So when we look at organic creator performance, in the past, people might have been talking a lot about engagement rate or like the total follower count and things like that. But we really look for more of those efficiency metrics. So we look at video view rate as one of our key metrics for organic content. Just in a video forward world, that's what we need to look at. How efficiently are these creators reaching their audience? How are they watching the videos? And then from a consideration perspective, we've been so excited about tuning into watch time, knowing that's available both on Instagram and TikTok, and really thinking about how the longer the audience is staying with the video, the more that matters. So watch time is something that we got really excited about last year and released some industry benchmarks there. And then from a paid perspective, ultimately we're thinking about how creators are bridging sort of maybe these communication campaigns into business impact. So that can really be against any of our clients' goals, but ultimately it's really sitting down and tailoring them to what they need. And then beyond that, from a performance standpoint, we do a thing at Zeno, which we call creator intelligence reporting, which essentially goes into the why behind the content performance. And so we are taking a look at certain attributes, whether that be within the creative or with the creator partnership itself, to why did they perform better than other assets or underperform. So for example, with a program that we've done with Aldi, does the content perform better when the creator is in the store or holding the reusable shopping bag? Or, with something like, we've done work for Tivana ready-to-drink iced teas. Which flavor is actually performing best within all of this creator content? And that really allows us to evolve our creator strategies, making sure that we're pulling those through the briefs and the types of partners we work with. I mean, we've looked at, of course, we have the industry benchmarks for like a micro versus macro creator, but really looking for that brand specifically. What's performing best in their paid campaigns, a micro person or someone at that mega status? And just trying to figure out how we're constantly evolving those strategies according to what works best for the brand.
Wonderful. Can you give us a breakdown of macro as well as micro influencers you have at Zeno?
So the good thing about Zeno, I would say, rather than working with a network, our options are really limitless. We are constantly finding new partners. And I think that's where I'm so proud of our team, to where you aren't seeing the same faces over and over again. So we don't have limits to the the partners that we work with. I would say on an annual basis, just for context though, we typically work with about 500 partners annually. And that has actually kind of gone down slightly, not because of the breadth of the work. The breadth of the work continues to grow. It's more so as we look at performance benchmarks that we're seeing that, especially the past couple of years, that macro tier is just so high performing and so consistent. Their video view rates are some of the best on both Instagram and TikTok. Their watch times are better than any other tier. They can really draw the audience in. And for a while there, the micro creators were kind of getting left behind. And I know that that was such a big boom, especially like 6 years ago. It was all about the micro influencer. But there was a while there where over the last couple of years, the micro influencer just was not getting favored in the algorithms. And so they were deprioritized. The good news is micro creators are back. We're seeing micro creators video view rates bump up tremendously, and they're now one of our top performers on Instagram, which is just really exciting for giving a voice to some of the up and coming talent.
Right. Just to be clear, when you mentioned 500 partners on an average you worked in a year, you mean creators, right? By partners?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And what do you exactly mean by macro and micro creators? Can you give us the numbers?
Yes. So I know it's always kind of a, how do you phrase your tiered approach? For Zeno, we have our nano creators at 0 followers to 10,000. Okay. Our micro creators are 10,000 to 50,000. Our mid-tier creators are 50,000 to 250,000. Okay. Our macro creators then are 250,000 to 1 million, which they are just kind of like the secret sauce right now. And then we do partner with mega creators, especially when we're looking at those 360 campaigns. If we're bringing in PR, if we're doing stuff with like the ad campaigns, those mega partners are at the 1 million plus range.
Okay, so we are at around 150,000 subscribers, creators plus creator, businesses included. So we are in the mid tier, right?
Yes, according we're in the mid tier. That's great. That's pretty good, though. That's pretty good. I got to get the video view rates to know.
Great, and we are thankful that we are, hosting you at this point because we recently passed, 150K subscribers. So exciting times.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Let's come to, something that we are also building at Phyllo and which is becoming more and more important, which is influencer vetting. At Zeno, how do you ensure creators align with the brand's value, especially with so much past content, which may have something troublesome, political, non-political, anything? So how do you do that?
So from a brand alignment perspective, we're really trying to make sure that we're setting our clients up with partners that can have that long-term potential. So we are looking at everything historically this creator has posted to understand where they've been, where they fall on certain social and political issues, in addition to just the table stakes of have they posted about competitors, have they posted negatively about our product. So we look at the historicals from a content keyword search, but then we also go a step further to kind of put together some predictable kind of vulnerability assessment to where we're looking at who are they following? Are they following some polarizing figures that maybe wouldn't align with the brand values? We look at their comment section. We typically know that any kind of drama, any kind of scandal typically starts in the comment section. So we do a comment sentiment analysis to see if anything's brewing there. So we want to make sure that before we even recommend these partners to the client, that they really align with the brand values. And then it's so important too to just like at the onset of the partnership, just make sure that you're really clear with the partner on like certain things that you maybe don't expect. Like, are you a family friendly brand? Do you kind of need to put it out there? Just like if you have anything coming up to where you might be a little bit more scandalous, just so you know we're family friendly and we can't be near that type of content. And then through the campaign, we're just constantly monitoring for, of course, the table stakes things like competitor mentions or anything kind of misuse of the brand. But also just looking, it's such a contentious time right now for any kind of hot button issues or topics to make sure that like the brand is not necessarily sandwiched in a really heated conversation.
Right. Can you give us an example of where you had to do some kind of firefighting because an influencer said something crazy in the middle of a campaign?
Over the last couple of years, that the firefighting has been a little bit of a side hustle for me. Again, in college, if you had told me this is what I would be doing, I would have just laughed in your face. I mean, there's no way that I was going to do earned PR, but I have been in a couple of situations to where we need to reach out to the creator and say, based on something that you said last week, we just want to have some distance between that and sponsored content, just knowing we don't want to appear in the same way you wouldn't want a sponsored post in the middle of a creator sharing that they're at the hospital. Correct. We want to make sure that this isn't appearing insensitive to a topic that you're clearly heated about. So again, just kind of spacing out to make sure that when your content does go live, it just feels really authentic and that you're not insensitive to anything else that might be going on. So that's for another day. There have certainly been a couple of little campfires that we've had to put out, but for the most part, the process of doing the historical vetting as well as kind of some of that predictive vetting has put us in such a strong place to make sure that the brand and the creator just have that long-term potential and are aligned.
Right. And for our audience, can you give us a number of, let's say, average number of creators a brand works with at Zeno? Any mid-sized brand or a bigger brand?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, so we have really, over the last couple of years, again, just with those macro partners performing so well, have been focused on fewer, bigger, better partners and really thinking of that long-term value. We also use our partners so frequently within the paid ad campaigns to where we're really maximizing that partnership. So though the creator might be putting together one asset for their own feed, we might be contracting them too for a couple of other cut downs for the brand ad campaign. So with that, it's really fewer partners that align with the brand. I would say our clients who have annual creator programs, anywhere from 15 to 40 creators a year. Again, they really want to make sure these people are part of the family, so it tends to be tighter rosters. But at the same time, we know that there are moments where we want to scale. And that's where, we do have the opportunity to reach out to our creator friendlies to kind of get 100 partners together in the next 4 weeks to support this big moment for a flurry of content. So we've gone both sides, but we are noticing a trend of the fewer, bigger, better with our clients.
Right. And it's so interesting that at Zeno, you use terminology like program instead of a campaign and partners instead of, creators. Is that a conscious choice, and why? I mean, have you made that kind of nomenclature?
That's interesting. I never really, that's not a conscious choice. It's just how we've been talking about so much. I would say from the program to campaign, that's just probably my own preference. But from a partner perspective, I do think that's really deliberate. And I think that's where we look at our creator partners as true partners to the brand and as an extension of the brand. And so we really would never treat them like a media buy or transactional moment. Right. Instead, it's really understanding them. So you'll notice with our campaigns, yes, we have really great content, that we have the sponsored content, but we get a ton of added value content beyond the contract because our team is so invested in these partnerships. We have those little love note moments where we're saying, oh, I saw that your son just graduated preschool. We thought we would send you this. Or we saw that you moved into a new home. We wanted to send you this housewarming gift. So it really is that relationship first approach that sort of kind of comes back to Zeno's PR roots in some way, to where it really is trying to figure out how we can get that added value and how we can really just bring them into the family as a true partner.
Yeah, I mean, this terminology and what you mentioned about Zeno does sound very old school, very classic. So my natural question is, how are you integrating AI into your tech stack? Because there is a lot of tools to try. There are a lot of things to automate. So please give us an overview of the tech stack at Zeno.
Yeah. I would say AI, when it comes to brand safety, vetting, identification, that is how we're using it so much, and have honestly for the past couple of years been using AI to make sure that we're finding the right partners, that we're quickly doing these brand safety screens. Of course, we have the human evaluation for who these partners are, but we also just rely on, if you're going through 6 months of video content, how can we do that a bit more efficiently and
Right.
thoroughly? And that's where AI has been just such an incredible asset to us. And then of course with like everyday activities too. I mean, there's so many, just like admin options for us to kind of streamline what we're doing. And I will say, like, as I've kind of been in the creator space for so long, I love sitting side by side with people who are super creative without putting that on my shoulders to be the creative one. I love the energy, but I just don't have that. And so that's where, I don't pretend to be a creator, but using AI to come up with like, okay, I have a briefing call with this creator. What are some angles in that I could talk to them about? What are some trends that they could hop in on? We use AI very frequently for trend spotting. We have a tool, it's our AI powered Hive, which essentially allows us to identify trends before they're at their peak. So while they're up and coming, allowing us to act upon them with a brand while it's still at its peak. So I think a lot of times you'll see companies reacting to trends that we saw on TikTok like 4 months ago. And that's where our AI powered Hive is really allowing us to find those trends while they're on the rise. So the brand can kind of get all of their ducks in a row to deploy while it's at.
So this is your own solution in-house, or it's a tool that, okay, not third party, it's your own.
This is our own tool in-house. Of course, we have tech that's backing it up, but it's been just a tremendous resource. I think most of our clients are coming to us and saying the number one question we're getting this year is, how can we be part of cultural conversation before it's too late? And our AI Hive has just been the secret sauce to finding those trends while they're on the rise, throwing them out there to clients. And not everyone is a hit. I think there was one I talked about, I actually talked about yesterday. There's similar to, I'm not sure if you're familiar with like the trend a couple months ago that was like raw dogging flights.
Yep.
No phone,
no phone, nothing, no books, nothing. Yeah.
Right. There is a trend now called barebacking, and
I have no idea about that. So your tool is working really well.
Yeah, it's a trend that's on the rise, and it really speaks to commuters. Everybody's going back to the office now. Every RTO has updated to where you're back 2 days a week, you're back 5 days a week. So they're leaving their laptops at the office, no backpack, no headphones, just sitting on the train, sitting on the bus, and just sitting straight forward. And it's kind of, it's on the rise. Check back in a few weeks when it's at its peak. But they're just things like that where they're up and coming. And it's so fun to throw those out to clients where it's like, if we get in on this now, like maybe it doesn't work, but maybe this is like a slam dunk and we're actually part of the trend while it swells. So it's been really fun using that from a social perspective, an earned media perspective, but even with some of our creator friendlies, getting them to turn around content quickly for some of these up and coming trends.
That's very interesting. Barebacking. So you're just going bareback to your office. That's so freeing, just the thought of it, because everywhere we go with a backpack, with our laptops, particularly the people in tech. That's I'll keep an eye out for that one. It's a perfect segue for me to talk about our product. This is why we do this. I'm kidding, of course not. So, this is becoming a very big part of risk management. So what's your take on, tools and APIs like Phyllo's influencer vetting, APIs to automate that layer of due diligence? And do you see that becoming a standard practice across all the agencies, old school or new school or, whatever? What is your thoughts about that?
It needs to happen. I mean, at this point, if you haven't been using AI from a brand safety perspective, I can't imagine the time spent manually going through all these videos, or worse, not doing the vetting at all. I think that's something where, you might see at some of these smaller agencies, they're depending on an intern to watch 6 months of content. And realistically, that's just, it's not possible.
Yeah.
It's not possible. And so using AI to partner with the human intelligence to like bring forth the vetting, the identification, it's just incredibly valuable. And if people aren't doing it yet, they need to be doing it now, just as I've seen so closely what can go wrong if you haven't done that due diligence from the onset. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're protecting the brand, but you're also protecting the partner. And by not knowing where each person falls on certain topics, it can really create that disconnect. And you don't want to be in the middle of a campaign having that conversation. And with the help of these tools, you're figuring it out from the get-go.
Right. Another, trend, I hope that you spotted it first, is AI agents. So how do you see AI agents or assistants changing the game for influencer marketing, especially around campaign planning and creator discovery, of course, first of all?
I would say, bringing them in the mix. At this point with AI, learning how to work with them is what's going to set you up for success. And I think, our agency, I'm so thankful, Zeno has been such a big proponent of accelerating our AI integration. So AI agents, bringing them into the identification and just having them be a partner to our team. Absolutely. You need to bring it in. I mean, at this point, it's not going anywhere. And so it can only help you. And I think that added layer, with AI as a whole, that added layer of bringing the human intelligence in and also allowing our team to focus on other things. This is something that's so tedious going through each creator and trying to find these things. Like, let's let them focus on other pieces that can't be automated that really require that touch.
Right. It leads perfectly to my next question, which is what role do you think AI should play versus what role the human should play? So when you talk about the things, that a person can do because his or her bandwidth has been freed because of an AI tool. So what are those things, and what are the things that AI should do?
That's a good question. I think overall, with my interactions with AI, it's using it for my weak spots. For example, I'm not creative. I'm not creative. And so bringing it into those moments where I need a couple of Kickstarters for the brainstorm. Of course, there are things that we've spent so much time on where it could just be so much faster. Staffing, drafting SOWs, silly questions that I have in a contract. Don't tell our legal team. There are just things that AI can be so additive to, in addition to brand safety and vetting. So I do view just adopting it and getting with it and figuring out how it can drive those efficiencies in your day. I would say overall, just as a creator marketing industry, I think where I don't see AI playing a huge role, or where I think right now people are experimenting, but soon that will taper off, is I don't really believe in AI influencers.
Okay.
I think that human piece, you can spot it a mile away if it's an AI influencer, and that human kind of experience with your product is so valuable. And really, and not to mention from an FTC perspective, you can't endorse something that you don't experience. So AI influencers can't endorse much because they can't truly experience some of these products. But I do think we just released a blog post, I want to say 2 weeks ago, why fake faces can't build real influence. And it really explains just, AI can be used in so much of what we're doing to streamline and find efficiencies in our day-to-day, or to provide that brand safety assurance. But what it can't replace is just that human storytelling and that human experience with your brand or product. So I do see that as a trend going into the next couple of years, that human experience with your product and promotion or sponsored content is going to become even more valuable in a world of AI bots.
Right. Last question, Colleen. Where's influencer marketing headed, let's say, in the next 5 years, which is a very big time? Let's cut it down to 2 years because a lot is changing. And what's one bold prediction you'd place your bet on?
I would say, in the next 2 years, definitely, maybe 3. But creators really becoming established commerce channels. I think, Amazon does a good job with it, and Instagram has dabbled with it as well, and we've seen TikTok Shop really blow up. But using creators as their own established commerce channels, I think, will continue to evolve, as well as more sophisticated measurement to show real business impact. Both of those things, I think, with every client, it's this creator content was awesome, but how is it driving business impact? So thinking those attribution models will continue to evolve, and those creator partners will be more of their own like individual commerce sites.
Right. And would you place a bet that, AI influencers won't become a thing in the next 2 years?
I think that people are going to have fun with it. Don't get me wrong. I think my bet is over the next year, people are going to have a heyday with it. FTC is going to crack down and say, this person can't say the Diet Coke tastes good. They can't taste anything.
Of course.
And so, so I think people will have a lot of fun, but after that boom, and just I think social users will grow fatigued over just seeing like bots after bots after bots, that the human element of creator and influencer marketing is going to become even more treasured. And those endorsements, I think you're going to see, they're already being used within ad campaigns, but even more so, just the skepticism is going to be high, and that human element is going to be so much more treasured.
Wonderful. So people who are worried about AI taking, their space, they should not worry. There is always going to be a human at the end of the process or in the middle. I hope so. Yep. Last couple of rituals that we make our guests go through. You have to give us a book recommendation. It can be an all-time favorite book or something that you may be reading right now. So, okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a big fiction person.
I love fiction. Yeah.
Okay. So everyone at my agency got me sold on A Coat of Thorn and Roses. I'm sure that's been done because it's really, if you just whisper it in a group of people at our agency, like you'll have like 10 people come up to you. It's a great book. And then also, I think within our AI acceleration that we've kind of done in Zeno, we have encouraged people to read the book Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick. And that has been really helpful for me just to, from both like an excitement about AI as well as just like a little bit of a mental health perspective, wrapping your head around it. It really was an awesome read and just it gets you excited and appropriately cautious about AI and really encourages you to bring it into your day-to-day.
Super. And the next thing is, would you like to nominate anyone for our show? Someone like you who's building in creator economy, managing influencer marketing campaigns?
That's a really good question. I mean, I would have to go, my co-lead of our Creator Center of Excellence at Zeno is Kelsey LaRose, and she is just wonderful. I would also be interested in Greg Tedesco. I have to throw out my boss, right? Greg Tedesco, he is our head of US Digital, and he would have a lot of hot takes for this podcast that I think is really exciting.
We'd love to host them. Thank you so much, Colleen, for today's episode. Your insights are really important for this industry because you've been in it for a long time. You're leading, a very important unit at a very important agency. So we wish that you continue to lead this in this space and continue to give us your time. Maybe come again in the next season of Impulse. We would love to host you again. So thank you so much, Colleen, for your time today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was really fun, and hopefully I didn't talk with my hands too much.
I think our audience will love that. On that note, please let us know what you thought of this episode. Please comment in the comment section if you're watching on YouTube. And do write to us if you are listening to it on Spotify or Apple Music. You can follow Colleen on LinkedIn. We will certainly put her profile link in the description. And do check out Zeno Group if you are a creator, if you are a work with some brands. Wait till the next episode drops. Thank you so much.
Impulse, the influencer marketing podcast, is brought to you by Phyllo. Phyllo is the easiest way to get access to authenticated creator data from hundreds of different platforms. To know more about Phyllo, visit getphyllo.com. That's get, PHYLLO.com. Also, make sure to search for Influencer Marketing Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Podcasts. And don't forget to click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Phyllo, thank you so much for listening.